AI writes 90% of my code. Like, you can't even catch me typing code syntax from my head. Like, and with that new developments, like a lot of times I just build apps way faster than I am supposed to. Like apps that are supposed to take you 1 month, 2 months, web applications are supposed to take you 1 month, 2 months. You're just building up here, boom, fast, so fast. And then it's like, bro, where was this, all this while? Like, I don't know how people are actually coding, with super, what's in the column? Stack Overflow and stuff like that. Like, I don't know how they used to do it back then, but right now, like, I cannot see myself coding without, using an AI model or anything, right? And then my workflow is what I want to share with you guys first. I want to share my workflow. Like, I feel like people's workflow actually determines the the outputs that they get from the AI model. Because me, I first follow backend, frontend, touch up, reiterate, all right, touch up, reiterate, and then even in that backend there's reiteration because you need to break down the code into phases. You can't just go boom straight away, right? You need to first understand the scope of the project that you want to do first of all, then break it down into phases, right? After you do that, this is actually before you even start coding first of all. After you do that, then you can now enter the code, right? Then you can now start coding, because people tend to add like different features, while they are coding. Like your brain can only keep track of a lot. The AI model too is like a brain; it can only keep track of a lot, and with that, you'd actually get better output from the AI model. Now, also before I start telling you about the flow, is the AI can only code as good as the person that is coding, right? When it comes to coding websites, low tier web applications, what I mean by that is like web applications that are not really database heavy, they are not really complex like that, right? And that's fine. AI can do that in a jiffy, even if you don't know how to code very well, But then when it comes to like complex stuff, deciding what you want to use inside the code, deciding like the the tech stack you want to follow, whether you want to include like different features, and stuff like that. What I mean by different features, different microservices, inside the applications. Like, you need to understand what you are doing up to an extent because it gets very complex, right? So first things first, I always start with my backend. I start with my backend. I start with my backend. I don't do the front end first. The reason being is because backend is the backbone of the entire product, right? If the backend is not there, the front end is useless. You understand? And I do that because that will help me to streamline the things I actually want inside the application. Because when you're working with JSON data, it gets really tiring. It gets really tiring. Yeah, you're not just going to be adding any feature anyhow. But still, we're doing with AI, so it's very easy, right? I wonder how it'd be back then when they don't have AI. But yeah, then reiterate obviously on the back end, reiterate, get everything complete. Once that is complete, once I've tested, I always test every single, phase during the what's called the coding, right? Then next I go to the front end, right? Do the front end, connect. Now, when I'm on the front end, I don't just use dummy data. I actually use the connection to the backend. So I'm actually, as I'm tapping the front end, I'm connecting it straight to the backend, right? I'm not just doing dummy data. I don't like that. I don't like using dummy data. I like using the data I already tested with on the backend. So obviously that data is already in the database, right? So I'm using those data on the front end, and then boom, reiterate on the front end. This front end is skeleton front end though. It's not fine front end yet, it's skeleton front end, right? Then do that until I finish with the front end. And once I'm done with the front end, touch up time, touch up time. During touch up time, I switch into another AI, okay? I switch into another AI, right? And then, once I'm done, then here comes deployments, here comes, all those type of things, right? Honorable mention is, I forgot to say, I actually get the mockups before I actually start the projects. That's when during the phases and doing all those type of things, right? I get the mockups for the entire project. I don't just dive in without knowing what it looks like, obviously. Then now it's time for the AI models I used to use. Now for the base skeleton and getting the backend to work as it's supposed to be is ChatGPT, bro. You can't go wrong with ChatGPT. Like, you can't. ChatGPT is just too good, you know. It's just too good, and that's what I use for my backend and the skeleton of the front end, right? ChatGPT strictly, right? And where ChatGPT messes up, because sometimes ChatGPT gets it wrong with React and all those, like it gets it wrong sometimes, you know. So I would now ask either Claude or Grok, you know, in case I'm installing a package and I'm like, bro, this thing is giving me dependency error, or it's giving me, you know, like this sometimes gets it wrong, right? And then you know, when it comes to the front end touch up, Claude, bro. Claude is just the GOAT when it comes to designing code. Like it doesn't get any better than Claude. Read. It actually doesn't get any better than Claude. Like once it comes to my front end, strictly Claude, right? Then for mockups, I use VO Dev. That's the Versal AI. I use that to generate the mockup. And there was a time where I used Lovable, but I don't really use Lovable. I just use VO, you know, because I cannot get like mobile app view of the web app. If you get what I'm saying, like if I'm building a mobile app, I will like be able to see like the mobile app view in website mode. There's a way it does it, you know, right? There's a way it does it for me that I can actually see it, and that's what I use for my mockups. Now limitations, bro. The AI models actually do have some limitations. Like I noticed they were, especially when I was coding Audrey, which is the one I built in 3 days, right? Audrey is the web app I built in 3 days, you know. Like when I was coding Audrey, like the design is not tapping. Like sometimes it can be better than a human being that is doing, you know, design, right? It can't be, and sometimes you have to go over, especially if you want to follow a particular Figma mockup, or you want to follow the thing exactly that is in VO, bro, you have to reiterate on it. Like you can't just do it once and then expect it to, you know, work, right? You have to reiterate. That's for that. So it's the design, bro. The design just and then sometimes it can give you like codes that you've not yet implemented. Like for example, right, there were some screens when I was building Audrey's mobile app. Now this is mobile app. The thing I built in 3 days is the web app. The mobile app now is taking me up to a month now to do all by myself, you know. So it's not the mobile app, it's the web app though. No, don't get it wrong. So the latest error that I faced was when I was doing the mobile app, right? It was routed to a screen that never existed, and I was like, bro, this screen does not exist, because I already knew that the screen did not exist. So why is he like, you know, why is he doing that when he knows that it doesn't exist? Like we've not done it yet, you know. And sometimes it just gets annoying. You know, you just be seeing error here and there, and I go, why? Like you didn't have to do that. You know, I didn't send you. The thing we're working on now is what we're working on. You're not doing another thing. Sometimes it does that. But you know, all in all, AI just helps you to like supercharge like through projects like so faster than you would normally be able to. There's a way you would actually have to prompt the AI though. Like you're not just going to go in, boom, everything at once, right? There's a prompting framework like you have to follow. Like you've probably been on the internet for long and you've seen all these guys that are teaching people how to do prompt engineering and stuff like that. There are a lot of videos and that, but just to be quick, like don't do everything at once. Like split it up into different fragments, you know. Explaining to the AI is like a human being too, although with human beings we have like more cognitive knowledge and stuff like that, but you still have to tell a human being what they need to do, you know, and stuff, because you can't just tell it to do like a ton of features or a feature that is so complex, because you know it has its limitations and stuff, but do a feature that is so complex and then expect it to actually do it like in one shot, you know. Sometimes you actually have to break it down, explain it, tell it step by step the things it should do, you know, before it actually can do it. And you have to be willing to explain. And then, you know, in that explaining, you need to also be able to keep track of the project. That's why you need to break it down into phases, like the entire project into phases, so that, you know, with regarding to the phase you already know that, okay, this is where I am, and this is what I've done, and this is what I've not done. Because if you don't do that, I'm telling you, especially if it's a complex project, if you don't do that, bro, you're going to have headache. You're going to have headache, you know. And my final thoughts are just bro, if you can use AI, why not? Let's just say, like, if you can use AI to do it, just why not? I remember I was doing a classification model, something very simple, but then I wanted to type it on my own. I wanted to do it, you know, kidding. I ended up spending like 6 hours on it, you know, 6 hours on it, and the code that AI wrote actually did better than my own when I was testing, you know, to compare it. So if you can use AI, why not? You know, it just supercharges you as a developer, especially if you're like a flipping good developer, like you know what you want from the code. It just supercharges you and then makes you deliver times 10. Okay, and that's pretty much it. See you in the next video, and please subscribe.